Alrighty, welcome everyone. I'm Tiabu, and I am here for Mushoku Tensei episode 8. I'm off schedule. This whole week has been weird. Yesterday I didn't feel up to recording this, just because I started doing the actual recording and felt like I was bumbling through my words completely. And then the entire afternoon, I was suffering from like one of the worst allergy attacks that I've had in a year or two. I talk about this happens to me occasionally where I'll have like a really hay fevery allergy attack and I just keep sneezing. But man, it happened all yesterday. I went to the gym yesterday and I brought an extra shirt with me just so that I could fucking blow my nose into it. And I sprayed everything that I touched down and I stayed the hell away from people. But I know that this is hay fever and allergies and I'm not contagious or anything. It's just miserable. So I went to bed at 9:30 last night. I took NyQuil just to knock myself out so that I could sleep. Because I was like laying in bed on my back for a couple hours just because that was the least drippy way to exist. Ugh. And then this morning, of course, you wake up the day after taking some, what is it the doxylamine succinate or something? It fucking destroys you. So I've had hours of just sort of laying there like, am I awake yet? No. Nope, not awake yet. I went out and I sat in the sun and I had a little bit of like electrolytes and hydration and breakfast and some vitamins. And then eventually after like an hour or so, some caffeine, because I learned recently that you probably shouldn't have caffeine right upon waking up because your adenosine system just isn't working. You need to have the caffeine a little later. So I did all the things that I was supposed to do. Then I went back into my room and laid down for another 2 hours because with caffeine in my system too, the NyQuil just had its teeth into me, had its claws into me. So eventually, after laying there for a little while, I started to feel a little bit lucid and went and took a shower and then did what I've been doing progressively over the last couple of days, which is take a normal warm shower. And then as I move toward the end of it, slowly bring the temperature cooler. I used to call this a James Bond shower. I don't remember where I got that from. It was... Man, somebody wrote it in like a self-help thing about, cold showers are great, but it's really hard to get into a cold shower, especially in the morning. So get into a hot shower and acclimate yourself and then slowly move toward brutally cold by the end of it. And so a few days ago, I did 20 seconds. And it was immense. 20 seconds was so hard in ice cold water. And then a couple days ago, I managed to make it to like 35 seconds. And then today I was like, all right, I'm going to make 45. And I actually ended up making a full 60 seconds, just counting, just breathing under there. And I'll tell you, that'll wake you up, man. That will get you going when your body has to produce its own heat through like shivering and stuff. Oh, that'll get you. There's something else about it that I think is really helpful. And I'm bringing this stuff up because I've had a tough, weird week, and my week has been focused in a lot of ways on fixing some things about the me. Ironically, some of the things that I've done to fix the things about the me have caused some of the things about the me that I don't want to fix. For example, one of the things that I want to fix is my consistency with these uploads. Like, I've been pretty inconsistent, and I hate it. It destroys me. It's the same thing that you all know that this is true when there's something that you should be doing, and you spend time stressing about whether or not you're actually going to do it. Well, first off, all that time stressing is totally wasted. And second, going and doing something that's, even if you like it, that's work or hard, just that inertia to start is such a fucking wall. It's such a wall. We're so bad to ourselves. We're so hurtful to ourselves when it comes to getting the things done that we really need to get done. We're so good at staying stagnant, at staying where we are and not doing things. But the cold shower thing, the reason that I think it works, part of the reason that it works, there are physical and physiological reasons that it works, like application of cold. It literally wakes you up. It does all these things that are great. But I think the most important thing is that it's hard. The most important thing is that it's hard, and that I know that it's hard because I've done it, right? I know that it's hard. It's going to hurt. Like, it's pain. Being in severe cold is painful. It hurts for a while, for a little bit. But if you can get in and get it cold and stand there and get past that initial moment of like, because your body does not want to be there, it starts to change and stops being cold. It starts just being lightning or sensation or something. And you can convince yourself, this is fine. This is what I'm meant to do. This is what I'm here for. I'm here to do difficult things because they make me better. I'm here to do difficult things because that's the only way to create change. Super helpful. Super helpful. And I would not be as lucid as I am right now if I hadn't gone and done that. this is not to say, like, all of you need to be taking cold showers. I'm not trying to be one of those guys who's, like, podcasting out tons of advice about how to run your life and live your things, but I am listening to a lot of those people now because I got some things in my life to fix that I need to fix. And I've started journaling and writing out those things. Like, what are the things that I've actually been like missing? And they're limited so far. I've got some things on here that I knew about. They're like, get fit, utilize the health insurance that I purchased a couple months ago because I've started making enough money that I should probably have health insurance. So I bought health insurance and I still haven't gone to a doctor, mostly because I'm terrified of it, right? When you haven't gone to the doctor I haven't been to the doctor in 6 years. If you haven't gone to the doctor in like 6 years, you're like, oh shit, they're going to tell me that I have lung cancer. I'm going to die. They're going to destroy me. But that's ridiculous. I got to go see a doctor. I gotta go see a dermatologist because I've got some moles on my skin that are most certainly precancerous, and I've been looking at them for like months. Like, I need to do something about this. But it's like the cold shower. I'm sitting there, like, oh, it's hard though. It's scary. It's scary, and so I'm hamstringing myself. I'm destroying myself by not doing the thing that I need to do. Crazy, but also kind of apt. It feels like this is the show to talk about this on. Some of these conversations would work well on Oyasumi Punpun as well, because Punpun is racked by these things, of course, but it works in Mushoku as well. I mean, of course it does, right? We're watching a character work through a lot of these things himself. A character who lived in this state of making every single choice that led him to doing not the thing, right? And whether we argue, like, Rudius is a product of a certain cultural identity. There have been people who've posted about the element of hikikomori in Japan, and they're a generational thing, and there are all these systemic cultural structures that cause this situation for him, but still, at core, it's choices that he has made. Specifically, more accurately, choices that he's delayed or refused to make or not made, or just things that he hasn't done. And he knows that he should be doing them. He knew when he was sitting in that room that he should have been doing them. But inertia is such a stagnating beast of a force that he just can't. He just couldn't. And so it takes cutting him out of that world and putting him in an entirely new position to give him the opportunities to do that, to move through it. Fucking cool. Okay. Anyway, other things on my list are get a massage. That's really important. I spent 3 days. Now, parts of days, of course, but it took 3 days. Hours each day. Foam rolling. My fucking back. I cannot express to you how much of my left shoulder and back has been a tangled mass of knotted tissue and muscle. And I had no idea. I was like, oh, my shoulder kind of sticks. That's weird. And I was doing all these things to like, oh, I got to reseat my shoulder joint or something, or I got to change my bench form or something. No. The whole thing was a tangled mass of muscle. And so I spent the time with a foam roller, but the first thing that I spent the time with was the kombucha bottle, a glass fucking bottle, because I needed something harder than the foam roller to get in. Agony. Pure goddamn pain for hours. And I'd take a break and I'd stop. And then I'd come back and I'd look at the damn kombucha bottle like, fuck. All right, let's go. And I did it again. 3 days of just pain. Really, really, really painful. If you've never foam rolled, you don't know what I mean. You ever have somebody like pinch a pressure point on you? Like, you know, the muscle here or the muscle here? That's what it feels like because you're putting direct pressure on musculature. So painful. But I can move my fucking shoulder now. And if I hadn't gone through those 3 days of pain, I wouldn't be able to move my shoulder. And if I hadn't had the recognition that there was something wrong, I wouldn't have had those 3 days of pain. And I wouldn't be able to move my shoulder. There's something about that. You got to recognize those faults. And then you can move to fix them. But the process of fixing them always comes with pain. Physical or emotional or mental or psychological. Movement is pain. Movement is suffering. Moving forward hurts. But staying where you are always hurts more. Clinging to what you have and worrying about the pain of movement, the pain of change, always hurts more. So it comes back to this like core concept that I bring up constantly. I bring up frequently in these videos. You got to choose what you're gonna suffer for, because you're gonna suffer regardless. What's worth suffering for? All right, this is all... sorry. Sorry. None of this is relevant to Mushoku Tensei except in the most tenuous terms, and that's totally fine. We're going to do some comment spotlights. This is going to be super chopped up. I'm willing to just chop this video up and spend more time editing. I don't mind. So I put the post up saying that the next episode won't be on Patreon today. Put that up yesterday because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I could not record yesterday. I felt whack. And then, of course, the allergy attack happened, so I'm glad that I didn't record. Sky Fox writes, it's incredible. Oh, and I'm gonna let me get light shot up so that I'm going to be screenshotting these as I go so that I don't have to go and take screenshots while I'm editing. How about that? All right. Sky Fox writes, it's incredible how much less outrage there is about everything when you don't go on Twitter. 96 updates on this one. Hey, Sky Fox, I don't go on Twitter. I don't have the Twitter app on my phone. I don't access Twitter on the computer. When I set up my Twitter account, I set up an automated service that when I post a video on YouTube or add it to a playlist, it just posts a thing to Twitter that says that I've done that. That's what my Twitter is. I don't touch it. I don't look at it. I don't browse it. I don't nothing. So that's actually really interesting, isn't it? Because I am fully aware of all of this discussion and debate, and now I'm in a position where that happens because I've got a Discord of people who are like talking to me frequently. So I have fingers out there, at least into certain echo chambers. But the power that's inherent in those Twitter arguments is that they spill out into every other format. You can't just avoid them. This is something that I've learned as I've I don't know, grown a little bit. I used to think that I could avoid a lot of the problems of the world by just avoiding social media as a person. And I think a lot of people do this. I think a lot of people believe this, and they're right to some extent. In fact, to a great extent. I think it's one of the best things that you can do for your personal mental health is stop watching or reading the news, stop going on social media. Delete Instagram, delete Facebook, delete YouTube, delete all the things. Maybe don't delete YouTube. I actually think YouTube is great. There are some great things about YouTube. I also think that it's a horrifying ad-based parasitic platform, the blah, blah, blah. I've got all my own ethical problems with YouTube. But there's a lot of good shit on YouTube that you can go out and find. There are a lot of full-length good podcasts. There are lots of informational videos. There are lots of just structured content that's like deep dive into how your body and mind and the universe and the world works, and that stuff's worthwhile as hell. But the constant flood of people doing criticisms on things, self included, is probably not the best for you. So delete the socials, get rid of them, and get off the news. But the truth is, you can't get away from it, can you? Because everybody else is doing it. So now you just feel like you're lost, and everybody else is on this paradigm that you don't vibe with, and that's probably a good thing because the paradigms that they're on are probably not healthy. But you are getting lost. You're losing. You're missing out. That's part of the reason that these sites work so well is because the churn is so fast that if you're not a part of it, you're missing out, and then you're feeling like you're missing out. And welcome to fear. Welcome to the feeling like the acceleration is going on beyond you as people become more technically adept and more communicative and more socially involved in media sources. You feel like you're less so and less capable of catching up because they're accelerating every time that they post or every time that they're a part of something or blah, blah, blah. It's incredible how much less outrage there is about everything when you don't go on Twitter. Yeah, but the outrage is still there. And I find that when you run up against it, sometimes you're going to run into the situation where you don't know what the fuck you're dealing with. And I think that's true now. There are a lot of those Twitter ideologues who will say a thing and you're like, I disagree with that, and they'll come at you hard for it because you're not part of the group think. I see. You're a monster. It's like, whoa, okay, all right, fine, sure. Anyway, all of this off of Twitter. I don't go on Twitter. I recommend you don't either, but people are going to do what they're going to do. Do what's best for your own mental health if you can. Okay, very first question. In my opinion, the major reason Rudy has changed the way he treats Eris is the conversation they had about how Rudy can do everything while Eris cannot. Rudy's biggest weakness, I feel, is his lack of empathy because he didn't connect with anyone for 20 years. Oh, amen. Yeah, 100%. He doesn't care about Eris. He cannot imagine why doing the wrong thing is a bad thing because he doesn't consider Eris and her feelings. Right, people don't matter. All he cares about is getting back at this random brat, making him suffer. But after that conversation, he realizes that who would have thought Eris feels the same feelings he felt in his previous life. Wow, a human being's a human being? Crazy. She is like me. She is a human who has similar emotions and troubles as me, is what he thinks and sees her for who she is for the first time. As sad as that is, at this point in his life, the only way he can see people is if he relates to them with his very limited experiences. This is also why he didn't do any obvious weird sexual assault things with malicious intent to Sylphiette, because right off the go, he related to her getting bullied and bonded. And then goes on to praise me for noticing things in the episode. I'm not going to read it because it's just praising me. It's thank you, but okay. Cool. Empathy requires meeting people, because if you don't meet people, you don't know that they're people. And I've said this before, and people have laughed at me for it, literally in conversations. It's a response that I use pretty frequently when somebody talks about somebody doing something crazy. They're like, I don't understand why this person is getting married to that guy. Like, what? And I'll turn to them. I'll go, people are people are people are people. People are people are people are people. People are fucking weird and complicated and strange, and all of them have their own reasons for doing things that you might not get. But they do have those reasons. Or more accurately, they'll be able to come up with those reasons once you challenge them. I think after I've thought through some things, for the most part, we take action based on instinct and then justify in reverse. I think that's what we do. I don't really think people are as conscious about our actions as we think we are. We're very much more unconscious creatures who go and act, and then when we're challenged on it, we can always go back and create a justification. I think it's talk to people about the mistakes that they've made or the things that they do that hurt other people or the things that they do that hurt them, and ask them why they do those, right? And they'll always come up with a justification. Always. It's like, oh, hey, why aren't you going to the gym? Million reasons. Oh, hey, how's that diet going? Oh, well, I'm off it because blah, 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 blah. Reasons. As if I made the conscious choice to get off of my diet, right? Or I made the conscious choice to stop going to the gym because I have reasons to. I'm too busy, But really, you started acting in the direction that you are currently acting and then justified it later. All right. Interesting to me. But yes, this is crucial, and it scares me. Socialization is way down, right? Because our social interactions happen over media, right? And so we don't meet people. And when you don't meet people, people are scary. It's how we're wired. Strangers scare us, right? Imagine that you saw another human, you're out hunting or you're out gathering or whatever, and you see another human through the trees. That's scary. They're not part of your tribe and you don't know them. They're scary. And we're built to think of the in-group and the out-group, right? And if you're not socialized, all of humanity is your out-group. All those other people out there are scary because you don't know what's going on in their head. It's not what's going on in your head, is it? You don't know because you've never talked to them. But people are people are people are people. And people need people. You need to be talking to more people. And that's the thing. Rudy in a past life wasn't socialized. He really wasn't. From early on, from high school, from school, where people are starting to become adults and figure out hierarchies and figure out interactions and figure out sexual relationships and figure out romance and figure out making bonds with like men make like brotherhood bonds in high school and college too. Rudy was cast out. Literally an outcast. And so he never socialized in that direction, right? He never became a part of that society. And he was faced with just cruelty from people. So of course he would reason, other people are dangerous. Other people are this, that, and the other. People hurt other people as part of the precept of our existence. It's the way that we exist. So of course there's nothing wrong with me hurting someone else. But as he comes closer to Eris, as he comes closer to Sylphiette, as he comes close to these people and bonds with them over shared experience or over realizations that the outside trappings of human have very little relevance to the person within. There are beautiful people who are horribly ugly on the inside. There are ugly people who are beautiful, beautiful on the inside, and all the spectrum in between in every direction, right? You can't judge books by their cover, which is, of course, what was done to him in many ways. But also, when you find out what's inside the book, you find out that most people's stories are pretty similar inside. Their internal narrative of what they really care about and want in this world and are going for. Most people are scared and need comfort and have a desire to connect to people and want to create something of value and want to live up to the duties and responsibilities that their elders have placed on them. And it's a whole list that people generally want. And there's infinite variation amongst it, and it's hyper complicated, but it's also so simple, right? And that's why I like that saying, people are people are people are people. As they're people, no matter how you slice it. They're complicated and they're weird and they act in ways that they don't understand and you don't understand. But they are human beings, mostly. There are exceptions. There are psychopaths and sociopaths out there, and they're not people. Not quite. But everybody else is people. The great likelihood is that person you're thinking about hurting is gonna hurt. And you, if you can realize that their pain is the same as your pain, and that their pain is as valuable as your pain, right? It suddenly becomes much harder to hurt them. It becomes much harder to hurt them. Because you know what that feels like. You have to be socialized, and Rudy's getting there, and I love it. I love it. All right. I really appreciate this comment from Coping on the Road. It's less relevant to the actual episode, but still, Coping on the Road writes, I've recently actually started listening to your comment discussion and final thoughts in the last 3 or 4 episodes. I find your thoughts to be poignant and fair and sparks friendly discussion or even debate. Sick. 20 minutes in, you've earned a new subscriber for addressing why you have to call out Rudius's actions and engage in discussion. Because 1, it shows that you understand the climate you've set yourself in, which is exposing your channel to a more controversial anime. Yeah, and it's terrifying. It really is, right? Like, oh god. I'm not going to get into it again, but the fear of that Twitter mob, again, I'm not even on Twitter, but the fear of a Twitter mob is real and legitimate in a creator's life, and that's an interesting thing to realize, right? Because it's hard enough to do a thing without having the possibility that the entire world, it feels like, of course it's a very vocal minority, really, in reality, but the entire world will destroy you and call you not just, like, bad or you made a bad video, but like you're a monster, you're destructive, you're hurting people by talking about it's like wow, scary. 2, it shows that you're willing to discuss Rudius's actions and put further understanding behind his character rather than brushing it aside as a joke. God, I hope so, and I hope to keep that up. And 3, you're willing to call out BS with cancel culture by making it approachable to exchange dialogue with viewers. Oh God, I hope so. Oh God, I hope so. I mean, using the word cancel culture is bad because it puts you on a side, right? Oh, you're on the side of. If I say cancel culture, how do I phrase this or frame this? Who are the people that most frequently use the word cancel culture or the phrase cancel culture? Right-wing ideologues. Whatcha? Hiya! Right? I'm not one of them. But it's terrifying because just by calling out this other cultural situation that's going on that's very scary, very serious, I think, it pigeonholes me. And there are thousands of people who will drop off my channel and never watch me again just because I use the phrase. That's nuts, right? Right? I mean, I'm not sitting here going, these are swidge, SJW, snowflake, monster, blah, blah, blah. I'm not that at all. I just want to approach something rationally. Ooh, it's scary. It's scary. I don't know. Anyway, you're willing to call out BS with cancel culture? I am willing. I'm willing. But I'm still terrified. And I guess, maybe that speaks to something good as opposed to something bad. Because, as people will say, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the ability to do the thing regardless, despite the fear. And I am afraid. And I'm willing to admit that to you. I am afraid. I am afraid. I'm afraid of fucking up constantly. Because I know that it's just a word. Just a word can destroy a person. Can destroy a creator. Nuts. It's nuts. How scary is that, right? That's some dystopian future. Self-policed thought police. Ooh, scary. Ooh, scary. Hoshi. All right, I've been looking forward to this one because this is a good one. This is a good one. Hoshi E writes, wow, this episode actually made me a bit depressed. Recently, I've been stuck in a rut of avoiding things that make me feel stressful. Hey, we were just talking about this. I procrastinate, don't respond to messages, leave clothes on the floor, order takeout. It's almost like a part of me gave up, and it's just like, what's the point? It's scary how I can agree with everything that's said in this video about doing things even if you don't want to, and then go back to my self-sabotaging ways. Yep. Yeah. Seeing someone like Rudius learning new languages, it's like I'm even worse than a fictional character. screw it, it's 3 a.m., but I'm going to go make that appointment tomorrow for sure. Hey, I really hope that you went and made that appointment, Hoshi. If you didn't, this is your reminder. Second, I don't know what appointment you're talking about here, but I'm going to presume that it's a mental health appointment, that you're trying to get some help. And first off, respect. Respect. Okay? But only respect if you go and do it. All right? You don't get the respect if you don't go and do it. Thinking about the thing is not the same as doing the thing, and you know this because you know how much time thinking about the thing takes up, right? Here are the other things that I'm going to leave you with, Hoshi. Just a couple. I'm going to give you a couple of pieces of advice that have helped me over the last few days. The first one is, I want you to consider how much time over the last couple of days, or since you wrote this post, you have spent worrying about the thing that you're avoiding doing. I really want you to think about it. Whatever it is, the clothes, the messages, the ordering, the food, I'm going to assume, my guy, from what you've said, you're in the midst of depression. Okay? This is what's going on with you. And I know that your initial response to that, most people's, is to get defensive and be like, no, I'm not depressed. I'm just blah, 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 blah. You're depressed. It's what it is. You have valid reasons to be depressed. This world is built to make you depressed right now. It's what a lot of the stuff that surrounds you is built to do. It's built to sap your attention, make you malleable, and make you depressed. And I'm not saying that this is some great conspiracy or somebody's trying to do this to you for their own malevolent means. It's just the way that our society is leaning, and it has to do with a lot of things. But it's okay to be this way, as long as you're aware of it and moving toward getting out. Okay, but I want you to think about all the time that you've spent worrying. And I want you to think about how much of that time you could have spent feeling good about having done the thing. Because I'll bet when it comes to like one of the things for me that when I'm really in the depths of depression is going and taking a shower. I find it really hard until I stink so much that I smell it, and it's like, all right, fine, I'll get off. But I'll spend like hours worrying about going and doing a thing that takes 10 minutes, right? Then I'll go do the thing, and I'll finally do the thing, and my day's gone. My day's shot, because I spent the whole day worrying about the thing. And I get out of the shower, and I feel great. Because this is what my body has been wanting for this entire time. It's what my brain knows that I should be doing. It's where I should be going. It's what blah, 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 blah. It's closing this loop, right? But the more time you spend with this open loop running of like, I probably should go take a shower. And you're trying to like read or write something, and every time you write a sentence, you're like, wait, isn't there something I should be doing? Or you're trying to watch a movie, and you're like, wait, she looks really clean. Shouldn't I be There's this cognitive load just weighing down on your back. Go do it. Go do it. Go get it the fuck done. Get it done. Rush through it if you have to. I don't care. But don't think about getting it done. Think about the next thing. Okay? Once I take a shower, I can go play with my dog. Once I go do this, I can go do this. Set your life up a little bit so that you got little rewards for yourself, right? For example, and I'll let you use me for this. God, a Mushoku Tensei video comes out. All right, sick. You got this thing that you're excited to watch. Tiabu dropped a new Mushoku. Fuck yeah! Oh shit, great. I don't know if you react like that, but some people do, clearly. Stop. Give yourself one task. Take the trash out. Clean up some of the clothes on your floor. Go wash your face. Brush your teeth. Something, right? Give yourself one task and say, once I do this one task, then I get to watch the video. Ooh, you just gamed yourself. You just gamed your own mind. It's gonna work. It's gonna work, right? Because you're gonna be like, man, but I want to do this thing. But I can't do the thing until I do the thing. So you'll go and do the thing, and you'll come back, and you'll be like, fuck yeah. And now you'll feel free. You'll feel free. Because you've already gone and done the thing that was like laying down on your back. It's done. You can go and do whatever you want. Have you ever played video games when you had homework due? You ever done it? I used to do this in college all the time. All the time. I'd have an essay. And to be clear, I'm really good at writing essays. I'm really good at writing essays. I don't edit essays. I just turn it in, get an A, I'm done. I know that's not a relevant that's not a relevant experience for most people. I understand. But that is how I am. I get an essay like a week in advance. Come the night that I'm supposed to do the essay, or come the night before it's due, I'm sitting there playing video games and freaking out inside my head. Like, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm destroying myself. I know that this is wrong and I'm doing it anyway. And I would spend days in that state. And then finally the pressure would get to be too much and I'd explode and I'd close the video game. It was League of Legends at the time. I'd close League of Legends, I'd fucking rage quit out, and I'd type out the essay and I'd turn it in. And I'd pass the fuck out exhausted with no relief to the stress that I was under or anything like that. Look back at that, it's so insane. It's so insane, because if I had done the essay, I could have played all those video games without stressing about them. Because during the entire time that I was playing those games, there was zero enjoyment going on. Zero. Because your brain knows what you're supposed to be doing. If you're sitting in your room playing games or jerking off and you know there's something else that you should be doing, you're going to be having a miserable time throughout the entire thing. You experience this? Anybody else ever experienced this? You know there's something else that you should be doing. You're avoiding doing it. You're pursuing avoidant behavior, doing something else instead of doing the thing that you're supposed to do. And you're getting nothing out of it. Every movie or show that you watch feels empty and bland. Every video game that you play, every boss that you slay feels utterly worthless because your brain knows that you haven't done the thing you need to do yet. But it doesn't have to be that way because those games could be enjoyable. You're playing the game because you're seeking that enjoyment. You're seeking that something, but you're seeking escape more. Run through the fire first. Spend the gold later. Fight the dragon first. Get the treasure later. Because you can sit inside the hoard counting pieces of gold, right? Ooh, look at me, I've got all these pieces of gold. And the dragon is rearing its head over you like, rah, I'm gonna eat you, little thief. And your brain knows it. And your brain's like, fuck. There's a dragon. You gotta do the thing. Okay. I'm gonna give you one more thing that I think is really helpful. This is a technological thing and it has to do with lowering the bar. I know there are people who are gonna benefit from this today. And I'll preface it by saying I have zero, nada, no sponsorship, no nothing. I'm not associated with this company or anything, but I'm gonna recommend them to you anyway. Because I've been using them for upwards of a year now. Again, I don't know what your appointment that you're talking about is. I'm assuming that you mean mental health. Here's what I'll say. Antidepressants work for me. They don't work for everybody. They hurt a lot of people, and there are dangers to them. They make you feel more content with where you are, which is very valuable. If you're in a place where you don't feel content at all, they make you feel more content. But that contentedness can lead to sort of like people talk about zombification or inaction, right? If you've already got this feeling like everything is set in your life, then there's no reason to create or move forward or generate stuff, whatever. But if you're in a fucking rut and you can't move and you can't do the things that you need to do, all of the things that you described to me, Hoshi, if you're in that rut, a month or 2 months or 3 months, whatever, of antidepressants can change your fucking life. Seriously. I'm not super pro them, but they work for me. And if you're going to go to a doctor, here's me lowering the bar a little bit because I have trouble. I mentioned it before. I have trouble going to doctors. It's just a weird thing, and it's something that's part of my cognitive load that I need to go and fix, and I will. I will within the first week of next month. I'm going to go to a doctor, and I'm probably going to get a bunch of moles excised off of my arms and skin. And it's going to suck, but I'm going to go do it because it's like getting in the cold shower, and I'll feel better afterward, and it'll be great. There's an app. I don't know if they have an Apple app. Actually, let me check. Let me make sure that they do before I recommend. Yeah, they do. Okay. There's an app. It's called K Health. Literally the letter K space health. K Health. There are a number of these. There are a number of apps like this. I haven't tried any of the other ones because this one worked for me from the outset, so I didn't have to go shop around because the first one that I tried worked quite well. Here's what you do. You go and download K Health. There's a monthly fee that you pay. It's like 15 or 20 bucks a month. There's a monthly fee that you pay. You go in, you click a couple things, say what you want, what you're coming for help for, and it'll be like, all right, stay by your phone. A doctor will be with you shortly. And a doctor, a real doctor, will pop up on the phone and be like, hey, so I saw the things that you posted and what you're currently dealing with. Have you tried anything? And they'll do a doctor's visit with you to some extent, a limited doctor's visit, over the course of like an hour or so. It doesn't even take an hour. It takes less. They'll send you some surveys to fill out, some like forms that are really, really basic. Like, if you're talking about, again, my only experience has been for the depression thing. I came in because I had citalopram in the past. I was prescribed it while I was in college, and it helped me immensely get out of a rut. So I went back into K-Health. I was like, hey, I feel like shit. I'm depressed. This is what's going on. I'm having trouble getting these things done in my life. I filled out the surveys, and they're like, yeah, you score like moderate anxiety, relatively high depression. Okay, cool. And I've got experience with this particular SSRI, and I know that it works for me in certain circumstances, and I would like to be back on it. And the doctor goes, sweet, great. Because honestly, let's be real, most doctors would love to be able to fix your shit by just giving you a prescription, but that was all that I needed at the moment. They're capable of giving you referrals to testing, referrals to therapists, prescribing medication, doing all sorts of things straight from your app. Getting an actual prescription, I think it costs $15 to get a prescription fucking mailed to me. It mails out to me in like 3 days. I have to check in every month and redo the surveys. It takes 10 or 15 minutes. I get a notification. Usually happens when I'm down to like 4 or 5 pills in my bottle. I'll get a notification from the app. It'll be like, hey, it's time to check in for your refill. And I'll go and I'll check in. You get a different doctor every time, and it's fine. I'll just go in. They see your whole history with the app. See that you're on this. They see a chart of like your progress in the testing and like and the surveys, and like, okay, where are you at? Was this month like a downhill or an uphill? Do we want to adjust your dose? And most of the time for me, it's like, no, this is exactly what I need. I want this dose of this stuff, and I probably want it for the rest of my life because I've gone off of it and it's been bad. It's gone badly. So I want this stuff and I want it for the rest of my life, and it's just. All right, great. Thanks for choosing K-Health. Your medication's on the way. See you in a couple hours. It arrives in a discreet package in the mail. I open it up, and I have the meds that I actually need to survive. And I actually do need them. Again, antidepressants are not for everybody. And more importantly, not every antidepressant is for everybody, right? You might have to go through 3 or 4 or whatever. And that's why the process of talking to a doctor and be like, yeah, I feel worse now is really important. And they do a good job of it. If you're terrified of going to a doctor because whatever, go download an app like that. Again, I'm not specifically like necessarily you have to go and get K-Health. It's just the one that I've used, and it works fine for me. And it costs very little, frankly, comparatively. You get your meds mail ordered. They just ship to your door. Discreet, easy, straightforward. Good God. Good God. What? Genuinely a life changer. Genuinely life changing. As a service. Incredible. Incredible. But that's my recommendation to you. Is to, if you haven't made that appointment yet, if you haven't gone and done the thing you need to do, go do it in the easiest way possible. If you can. Right? And give yourself a reward for doing it. Choose something that you like or want and say, I get to do that once I've done this thing. If there's a restaurant in your town that you really like, you said that ordering takeout is hard, but is there a restaurant that you really like? After I get that appointment done, I get to have my favorite snack from this place. I get to have my favorite treat. I get to get boba. I get to go get bubble tea. I get to go have a slice of fucking cake. Reward yourself. Fucking trick you. Trick you. You gotta trick you. Okay. Response to this question, response to this answer comes from very first question. This series unironically saved me. I always had a bad habit of skipping out on exams and stuff, convincing myself I can't get a good score anyways, I can always try it next time. Then I started reading the light novel, and it convinced me that even if I will fail, I should just go there and try. Got through very tough times and managed to graduate college thanks to this series, and that's why it will always have a special place in my heart. Fuck yeah. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Fuck yeah, very first question. Laconic Kibitz writes, since the show's airing, every time I get agitated with a problem, I rewatch this episode. Oh, I forgot to screenshot. Hold on. Boop. I rewatch this episode. Every time I get frustrated at something not working out well, I rewatch this episode. A lot of other shows, sports anime in particular, will preach about effort and motivation and using it to achieve success. But none of their platitudes hit as hard as Rudy explaining to Eris the value of effort. It's not hype, nor climactic, but a beautiful, serene moment where only Rudy and the audience understand the weight of the words he has said. It's one of those moments where I connected not only with the character, but with the author. Seeing that conversation between Rudius and Eris gave me the sense that the author definitely gets it. He knows exactly how hard it is to continue trying at something you're bad at, but also knows there is value in that effort. Re-experiencing that feeling is enough to calm me down and convince me to keep trying at the problem I was facing. Oh, God. He knows exactly how hard it is to continue trying at something you're bad at, but also knows there is value in that effort. Re-experiencing that feeling is enough to calm me down and convince me to keep trying at the problem I was facing. Oh my God, man. I just want to hug you. I just want to hug you, Laconic. I really do. I don't have a lot to add here. I'm so thrilled. I'm thrilled by that. That's the coolest thing. That's the coolest thing in the entire world. Because, okay, I'll back up. Why is that the coolest thing in the entire world? My supposition, my proposition, core to the nature of this channel, core to its continued existence, is that media can save people's lives, right? Media and stories can introduce information to us that we desperately need, that we cannot get any other way. Because if you were to read, I'll bet you, Laconic Kibitz, I'll bet you 1,000 bajillion internet points that if you were to read 20 self-help books about doing tough things, none of it would stick in your brain. Not one bit of it would stick in your brain. Now, I mean, some of it would be there, but change your life, be something like emotionally resonant that you come back to and find as a touchstone, like a useful touchstone? No chance. Zero. Not a fucking chance in hell. But you watch a character and you put yourself in their shoes, and you empathize with them, and you realize that he's a person, and he's a person who's like you, with struggles and flaws and failings and difficulties and problems. And this is why it's so crucial that Rudy isn't perfect. Oh my God, it's so crucial now that I've been thinking. It's so critical. You resonate with him, and he says something that means something to him. Well, that thing means something to you because you're him, right? In the moment that you're there, that you're in that episode, you aren't yourself, you're Rudius. And all of his problems are mapped onto your problems, and all of his fears are mapped onto your fears. And when he experiences this feeling and gives this piece of advice, it comes from within. It's like incepting an idea into your own brain with the power of story. I love it. I love it because it's exactly right. It's exactly right. It's like the experience of watching Sangatsu no Lion, and that's one. Hey, anybody who feels this way, who has watched Mushoku Tensei and loves this feeling of vibing with a character who is having a hard time, go watch Sangatsu. It's really important that you go and do it. I wish that my recordings for Sangatsu were better and that some of them weren't missing, because it is truly, it's early in my channel's existence, but it is truly one of the best series on this channel. If you have to, go and watch it alone, but if you want to go and watch it with me, you can find it, at least parts of it. Go watch what you can. It's really important. Jacob Crouchick? I'm going to say Crouchick. I hope that's right. I could be wrong. This is a pretty long comment, and it's an interesting one that gets more at the discussion part. And actually has some really interesting insights. So let's go through it. I think it's actually very important that we be able to address the criticisms toward this show in good faith. An essential part of that is entertaining the possibility that said criticisms might be correct. I find it upsetting that so many commenters are quick to vilify the opposing side, tossing in scare quotes and bolded words for good measure. Just as watching Mushoku Tensei does not make you a scary, bad, crazy, no-good monster, neither does having a strong negative reaction to the material it includes, material which many people find upsetting for good reason. This is really important. This is really important. And it echoes what we had about the 3 points that what was your name? Jesus, sorry. That Coping on the Road wrote about addressing things in this sort of a way. We're built to be tribal. We're built to look at outsiders or disagreeers or the us and them, right? The us and them, the in-group, the out-group. And if you're in that, if you're on any in-group, anybody attacking you is the out-group and they're monsters, and it's really easy to vilify them. You won't feel shit about it. You won't feel any remorse. I think this is part of why the whole cancel culture works so good, is because the people they cancel aren't people to them. They're the out-group, right? They're Nazis and monsters and white right-wingers and alt-rights and whatever they think they are, they're that. And the opposite is true, right? None of these people's opinions matter because they're just cancel culture, snowflake, libtard, blah, 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 blah. Sorry for using these words. I'm just aware of their existence. I hate them all. I hate them all. All of these group up all those people over there that are bad words. Oh, God. Ugh. Ugh. But we use them for a reason. And that reason is to vilify. And that's something to be very, very careful about. And so I appreciate you pointing that out, Jacob, because you're right. You're right. It's not okay to go through this show and just say anybody who comes at me about this is wrong, because they're wrong and evil. And more importantly, anybody who's against people watching Mushoku Tensei is doing it for ulterior motives. They're doing it because, I'm watching Mushoku Tensei because I'm this is great. This is actually super important. I'm watching Mushoku Tensei because I'm a rational individual who's here to explore myself through the lens of another character and blah, blah, whatever. But you're against me watching Mushoku Tensei because you're a libtard snowflake cuck who's been converted by the deep state, right? Like that's the way it interacts. The opposite is true. I'm against watching Mushoku Tensei because I'm a good person who's against abuse of minors, who's against violence, who's against sexualization of characters in media, who's against showing uncomfortable things in children's media, all of these things that people will say about Mushoku Tensei. And you like Mushoku Tensei because you're a lolicon, right-wing, brain-addled, man-child, ideologue trying to blah, 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 blah. And neither side is right in any direction at all about any of that. But it comes down to a core piece of human nature, which is that we think our own actions are justified and nobody else's are. Right? I'm doing the things that I do because I've thought them through and I know what I'm doing and I have a centered self and purpose and meaning. And you're doing the things that you do because you're an idiot. Because you're a fucking idiot. That's why you're doing the things that you do. We do this all the time, right? I'm an atheist because I'm a rational person who has overcome blah, 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 blah. You believe in God because you're an idiot who's been converted by a stupid system of people who want to oppress you. Okay, great. That's a great way to start a conversation, right? Or in politics, right? I'm a liberal. I'm a leftist, the modern definition, not the actual definition. Let's be clear. I'm a liberal because I am rational and thoughtful, and I care about people, and I want freedoms for everyone, and everyone deserves to be treated equally and have rights and every blah blah blah. And you're a conservative because you're a Nazi. That's why. It's because you hate people who aren't white and you want to kill them all. That's what's going on here. That's it. Or on the flip side, I'm a conservative because traditional values are important and our society is structured around the ways that we interact, and our financial system kind of works a little bit, and all these other people are kind of anti-capitalist, and that seems a little weird when it seems to work okay. And things are going horribly, yes, but maybe there are things that we shouldn't throw out completely, and maybe tearing down the entirety of our civilization is maybe not the best idea. And you're a liberal because you've been converted by you're an idiot and you've been converted by the culturally Marxist, authoritarian, libtard cuck deep state. Excellent. Nobody can be right. Great. Everybody's wrong except me. Great. So I'm just bringing this up because this is kind of what you're leaning toward here is pointing this out, and you're doing it in a really excellent way, Jacob. And I love it. I love it. I love it because it's true, because it's accurate. It's the way that this tribal thing is going on and is happening. And that's part of the scariness, is that when you do anything outside of your tribe, if you start associating with a tribe, And you should, in terms of financial success or creativity or getting your work out there, you should pander to a tribe in terms of effectiveness, because they'll love you. They'll love you for pandering to them. They'll love it. As soon as you say anything that goes against the tribe, the firing squad is there. Boom, and you're out and you're gone and you're canceled and you're dead. Crazy scary. Crazy scary. Okay, I'm going to continue on with Jacob's comment because I'm losing my train of thought, and that's totally okay. To be clear, I actually have zero issue with the show's use of sexuality. It's been super good so far. I'm okay with it even when it is decidedly lecherous or frames uncomfortable acts as funny and quirky character moments, which hasn't been that often, but it has happened, and definitely there are arguments to be made about the hayloft scene as being that, but fair enough. But I think it's important to understand that the fear and discomfort people feel about those subjects is perfectly reasonable, and for some people extremely personal. Yes, true. Sexual abuse, especially concerning minors, is a horrible thing. These aren't just character flaws, they're very real crimes, and seeing that can be extremely unpleasant. But that's not what the problem is. It's not, I can't watch Mushoku Tensei because I've been assaulted and it literally triggers me. And this is something reasonable. Having a PTSD trigger to something, oh my god. Yeah, stay the fuck away. Great. The problem is the opposite. It's you can't watch Mushoku Tensei because these things are wrong inherently, regardless of how they're approached or demonstrated or shown in the piece of media. It is wrong to demonstrate real things in media. Now, let's be clear, right? Rape isn't fictional. Child abuse isn't fictional. It happens every fucking day in this real world. And those people who are traumatized are aware of that poignantly, and they don't deserve to be reminded of it. But everybody else should be. Everybody else should be. There'd be a lot less of it if I think there would be a lot less of it if everybody was aware constantly that it was possible. I don't know. As an aside, let's continue on. As an aside, it is interesting to think about how rape and sexual abuse are seen as more problematic than murder and torture. This has come up multiple times in multiple contexts, both in well thought through comments and not so well thought through comments. This is the best thinking through of it that I've seen so far. Thank you, Jacob, for doing this. It allows me to address this issue. I think it is interesting to think about how rape and sexual abuse are seen as more problematic than murder and torture. Desensitization is a huge part of that. But I think there's something else to it. I think we're deeply desensitized to sexualization. Thanks, porn. The idea that desensitization plays a role in that is something that I can get behind, but also I think there might be something more. I think that sex and sexuality are so culturally tied to intimacy and identity that for many people, a violation of sex is more of an assault on someone's personhood than even death. It's not quite how I feel, but I can understand it somewhat if I think of it through the lens of my fear of identity death. Oh, yep. Yeah. So this is... Oh man, how do I put this? Yeah, people are more scared of the depiction of sexual assault in a piece of media done frankly, a depiction of sexual assault done pretty fucking well, I think. And I'll argue that till the cows come home, and people will argue against it till the cows come home, and that's fine. People will argue that the hayloft scene was bad. But having seen the hayloft scene, and then the opportunity that comes an episode later, and the way that Rudy has clearly moved through, changed and grown a little bit, recognized as a person a little bit, it's a pretty good depiction of sexual assault, both from the sort of craving that men have for sex that I think a lot of women are not aware of. How men feel about sex and sex. Oh my god, people are not aware of the way that men's sexuality works. But whatever. Both from that perspective, from the perspective of now, I mean, the slapstick line that it goes through isn't maybe good, but it's what are we gonna do in this culture? Is Eris gonna do the thing where she sits Rudy down and has a conversation about bodily autonomy with him? No. Anyway, I think you're right on the money. That these things are seen as more problematic than murder and torture. Back on topic, writes Jacob. What's important is being able to communicate to them the nuanced idea that while their feelings of disgust when engaging with the media are valid, their feelings of disgust with the creators and audience are far less justified. That they have every right to be put off, but they should probably exercise another right they have to not engage with it in the first place. God, if only that were the way that the world worked. No, people are crusading now. it doesn't work that way. Either side, leftist, rightist, whatever your in group is, they're crusading. And it's like the existence of something out there in the world that in any way goes against their moral precepts or whatnot is not only detrimental to them, but like a threat. That's how it ends up working. It's a threat. Not only is Mushoku Tensei a threat to certain groups, the people who are watching it and discussing it are a threat to them, and they treat them like a threat, and they attack preemptively, and it's crazy. It's crazy. Their feelings of disgust with creators and audience are far less justified. They have every right to be put off, but they should probably exercise another right to not engage. Yeah, but they can't. They can't because it's a looming threat. They can't. It's the same reason so many ancient nations would go to war. We found out that there are some other people over the other side of that hill, and they dress differently than we do, and they look different than we do. If we don't go kill them all, they're gonna come kill us all. That's what they're gonna do. We better go and kill them all. It's a great way to justify conquering territory. It's really good. It's evolutionarily justified, right? The people who disagree with you over there, they should be destroyed, and you should do it as soon as possible. Because if you don't, they'll do it to you. I mean, we wiped out full other species of hominids. We don't like to think about that about ourselves, but this is where we come from. We come from a species of apes who wiped out full other tool-using, intelligent species of hominids. Now, there's evidence of some interbreeding, but for the most part, the Neanderthals ain't around anymore. They gone. Because they were over there and they looked a little different than we did. And they had some stuff that would have been great to have. But it's that core tribal difference. That threat over there. That difference over there. Those people who don't quite think the way that I do. They're a threat to my existence and my way of thinking. I have to destroy them. Ugh. Exercise another right to not engage. That consumers are responsible for what media they engage with and for how they respond. This isn't to say that criticism or even outrage is never a valid avenue, but it's not a respectable first response, and in this case, it seems rife with bad faith. And then, wow, and all this was just from only the comment section. I might have more to say after I actually watch the episode. Oh, yeah. Very first question responds to this one. Sadly, this is what post-Twitter world has created. It's no longer that easy to have civil disagreements or even civil outrages. Intentionally or unintentionally, some vocal bad actors can turn a discussion into something different that can poison and harm a piece of media and eliminate the venue for discussion in the first place. Yup, poison that well as much as you can. As much as I agree that the fear and hate for the moral police / Twitter mob, or whatever you call it, is usually overdone, it still has a reason. Mushoku Tensei literally got banned in China. Not that that's necessarily a justification for something being wrong. Just saying. While it aired, because of the words of one streamer and him sending his fans to create outrage in social media, for instance. I think they uploaded all episodes sometime after it aired, though. Confusing to me what you just wrote. I haven't looked into it, but interesting. Actually, if somebody could write out a little blurb about what the fuck happened there, I would love to know. Sounds fascinating. Wish we can go back to just being a bunch of weirdos talking about things. God, yeah, right? I mean, I started this channel going, I'm a fucking idiot weeb. Go back to my early videos. I've done that a couple times recently. I'm a fucking idiot weeb, and so are you, and that's okay. We can get something out of anime. That was the initial premise. Now, a lot of the core thoughts about media is important. It's important to talk about these things. It can incept ideas into your head. It's valuable. It can change you. The stories that we have are more than entertainment. They're more than escapism. There's value to this. There's a way to live that's inherent, and you can learn about it by actively reading the stories that we care about, because they embody and engender real deep truths about people, about life, about what matters. I mean, one of the core things that I was thinking about when I started this channel, I was thinking about a type of narrative that I would call the generational narrative. And I was thinking about it in the terms of My Hero Academia and Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I think there was one other one. I don't remember what it was, but the ideas that are present in both of them are this sort of cultural idea. There's this kid, I said My Hero Academia and, what was the other one I just said? Fuck. Oh, Avatar: The Last Airbender. There's this kid who has the weight of responsibility and also all of this power on his shoulders, right? He carries down this thing that's passed down from a previous generation and is supposed to take this and take it into the future and change the world or something. And that struggle with taking a piece of power that's passed down from generation to generation and compounds in value, not because of its necessarily of its like strength really, but because of like added on, tacked on wisdom that each generation has placed upon it. Now in Hiroaka's case, it literally is strength. The power gets stronger every time that it is passed along, right? But in Avatar, it's the wisdom that's the strength. It's the ability to go into the Avatar state and carry on all of these meanings and all of these messages and all of these mindsets of all of the avatars that came before you, to be able to embody all of their wisdom. It blew my mind to be thinking about this concept because I was like, that's humanity. That's reality. That's the truth, right? Your father and your mother and your father and their fathers and mothers before them, and on and on and on. Every generation has been gaining and compounding wisdom and passing it on as best they can to their children and telling them what works as best they can. And all of that is great and good, but the most powerful thing that we have is the ability to write things down. We can write things down and then transfer information perfectly across time and space. And the most compelling edition of that technique is storytelling, is telling these mythological tales that engender truth about the way to be and the way to exist. And it was just this amazing series and of coming to an understanding that there's this meta layered thing going on where I'm looking at something that's talking about this power, in Avatar: The Last Airbender's case, it's talking about this power that gets passed down and changed and altered, and the wisdom of the elders and the wisdom of tradition is all passed down, and then it's put into a novice, a newbie, an idiot, right? A stupid kid, a child who will rebel and choose other things. Both Aang and Korra, they'll rebel and they'll go different ways. And in doing so, they'll find new truth, and they'll take that new truth and they'll add it to the core of truth and pass it on. And all of that is being passed down in this piece of media that is of itself and in itself the embodiment of the process of humans passing down their truth. And it took hundreds of people drawing and writing and thinking about what was true in this story, what was right, what's right that we should write into this kids show that will mean something. And they came out with Avatar: The Last Airbender, and it means something. And that's incredible. It's incredible. I fully have lost my train of thought, and that's okay. Wish we could just go back to being a bunch of weirdos talking about things. I'm a stupid weeb, and that's okay. Because everyone is, at some point. You have to come to the realization that there's value in that wisdom, that there's value in that writing, in that passing down, and that there's the opposite, right? There's bad media out there that has bad stories in it, like genuinely dumb things, or misallocated resources, or poorly thought tales that either don't have a lesson, or the lesson that ends up becoming a part of them is wrong or false or mistaken or misaligned or founded on faulty assumptions. So that means that media has an effect and has power, right? And I think we treat it as such. And I think that to some extent, the cancel culture and Twitter mobs and people, again, it sucks to label them, right? Because even just by doing that, I'm going, those people over there who are bad and wrong. Can't get away from it. It's bias. It's cognitive. It's the way we are. I think even they understand that to some extent, that there is something about media and the way that it gets passed down that's of value. And that clashes deeply with the ideas that everything can be deconstructed, that everything is lacks meaning and it's all about interpretation and all these things. I think it clashes dramatically and to some extent makes that idea fall apart. But I think they understand that, and that's why there's this move towards sanitizing culture or changing culture. Changing the stories that we tell. They have to tell a very specific type of story, and they have to include a very specific set of elements. They have to have all these specific things, and then they're right. And then they're right, and people will fawn over them and be right. But how many pieces of media that come from that sort of a perspective of top down will create the piece of media that tells the story we need to tell to the world, as opposed to we're going to tell the story that's right and we're going to tell it to the best of our ability. a lot of pieces of media recently have come out in that direction that have been top down, trying to express something specific and like cause change and fit an ideology. And they feel empty because humans are really attuned to feeling whether those stories are empty. God, we're an hour in. I don't even know if I'm going to record the video today. Holy shit. I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no idea. I didn't expect to be talking about this for an hour. This is what happens. This is what happens when I release the episode a day early. And so everybody gets a chance to comment and I don't just have to go through all the the Patreon comments. So there are like 400 comments on this episode and I don't know what I'm going to do because I feel so many of you deserve to have your comments addressed. So maybe this will just be a video of me talking about comments and that will be maybe fine. I'll get to Mushoku another day. Or maybe I'll do it a little bit later. I'm going to go turn my AC back on. Also, I need a tasty beverage. All right, fucking love passed me. Put a couple of these liquid deaths in the fridge earlier this morning, and now it's later, and I'm thirsty, and I just want one. Oh, gotta love that, right? You really gotta love when past you has done the things for you that make you, current you, your life a little bit easier. Oh, it's the best. Think about future. This is an aside. It's just something I thought about in the seconds when I went downstairs and grabbed this drink. Think about future you more. Think about future you more. And what you can do that will make future you say, thank you, past me. Because that process of literally caring for yourself, for your future self, it builds some respect for you in a way that I don't know about anything else that does. I haven't found anything else that works that way. But going and doing something for future you, set out your clothes for tomorrow. Yeah, set your clothes out for tomorrow. Do that. Wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, I don't have to make a decision today. And it's just done. Cool. Or like I've been writing out. It's hard. I'm so bad at organization and schedule. I'm so bad at it. So I'm now making a conscious effort to try and get better at it. Writing out a couple things that I need to do tomorrow. And I've been failing them for the last couple days. It sucks because sometimes you can't. Sometimes you just can't. And that's balls. And that fits back with a conversation we had a while ago. I think it was on the show about failing to keep promises to yourself. But I'm not viewing them as promises. They're as tomorrow. These are the things that I'm going to try to do, and we'll see. But it's a step in the direction. Anyway, do things for future you. Titan Machine writes, I'm addicted to your reviews and pre-episodes discussions. Sick. Hope you enjoyed this one. It's going on for a while. Lin Hua. Ghislaine said the ring didn't work because it did not work on Paul. And then, of course, my response to it, oh, fuck. Ah! That's a hell of a thing to realize, dude. Holy shit, yeah. 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 Doesn't work because it didn't work on your dad is terrifying. And again, cements this idea about the way that things are really going down in this world. This is not a pretty, colorful, sterilized fantasy world. This is a medieval world, and it takes some elements from medieval times. And some of those elements are fucked up. Good shit. Good shit. I'm going back to episode 6 for something. All right. So, got 2 comments here, and a response to address. Let me do Gabriel Roca Ribeiro first. Hey Tiabu, episodes having chapters is useful, at least for me, even if you don't talk a lot in the beginning. Makes me easier to watch in Pixel Drain and then come back to the exact time that I need to come back to. Totally. I'll do my best to get chapters on the videos every damn time. Gonna jump back to episode 6 for a comment that accomplishes the same task in a much worse way. Tricky Jeebus writes, and I'm gonna read this as much as I can without trying to put on a funny voice and just give you some benefit of the doubt, but you're an asshole. Here we go again, doing criticism of the show, but not taking criticism of how you make these videos. You have mods, make use of them. There's such a thing as timestamps, section your videos out. Also, when you discuss comments, post the screen cap of the comments. We will know who is the person. This gets a shout out for them, or them for the ones who actually watch your videos instead of listening to it. This is not a podcast, or are you saying that this is a podcast? First off, I don't give a shit how you watch my videos. Second, you're an entitled asshole making demands. Like, Jesus, holy shit. Johannes Bauer's amazing comment. Oh, Yes. Again, as mentioned before, MT is all about 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Surrounded by examples of the debauchery he thinks he wants to indulge, he still strives to better himself and Eris. Pulling a magic feather trick is par for the course, but works. If you weren't aware of it before, the Eris track has now been firmly established, and they enjoy their first cooperative inciting event. Okay, so we're in Arrowgate terms here, but the line that gets me, first off, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, absolutely. 2, surrounded by examples of the debauchery he thinks he wants to indulge. This is just like the idea of drowning yourself in escapism when there's something that you need to do. The world has infinite pleasures, and you have them at your fingertips. Infinite, overwhelming pleasures, okay? If you want to be distracted, look no further than the internet. If you want more sexual content than your grandfather would have had in his entire life, spend 10 minutes on Pornhub. If you want sex, drugs, rock and roll, music, fucking anything, you can get it. Debauchery everywhere. And it all feels empty. Ooh, groovy. Groovy. Just in a relevance to reality thing. Oh my god, so groovy. Roxy also shows she is still truly invested in Rudy's progress by gifting him a handbound and written language text. Yeah, so sick! And shows that she was far more clued into Rudy's activities and not offended. Long-distance relationship goals, check! Her commentary on the figurine is just icing on the cake to let him know that, yes, she knows. The prince contrasts against Rudy to show us what horrifically unrepentant and irredeemable is as Rudy stumbles through progress. The prince gets set on fire, Rudy gets a textbook because Roxy has standards. I like this. Now, I mean, again, is Rudy a perfect person? No! But he is better than that prince guy. He's not irredeemable or unrepentant. He's actively learning. He's changing. And it brings me back to that quote from the author that was, I hope that if you know, I'll paraphrase, I hope that if there's someone in your life like Rudius, and they start to make any slight change, that you will treat them with some level of compassion. Bada bing, a bada boom. Leonardo, with a guts picture, fucking sick, writes, MT gets a lot of bad attention because of how popular the anime got. Literally, in almost every weekly anime popularity poll when it was airing, it was always top 5, and multiple times #1 in popularity. My theory is just that a lot of relatively new people to anime and normies went to watch it based on that, and simply just decided to hate on it because it was something that triggered them. But that's just my theory. A Twitter theory. Please, Matt Pat, don't sue me. Don't sue me. Thanks for reading. Yeah, it's a reasonable theory. I don't think it's an accurate theory. I think that people are it's conspiratorial. Again, I don't think there's a conspiracy theory against Mushoku Tensei. Oh, shit. I just realized what I did wrong. Hold on. All right. I'm glad I figured that out. So incredibly silly. You know how air conditioners, like portable air conditioners, have like a thing that goes in the window? I took it out so that I could close the windows, that I could seal my room up, because I figured that something was making me allergic, and I think it was. But I turned my air conditioner back on, and it started getting way warmer in the room. Like, what's going on here? Oh, the exhaust pipe is just pumping hot air into my room. Nice. Great. That's what's going on. Okay. So that's fixed, and it will actually get cool in here, thank God. Where the fuck was I? I don't think there's an actual conspiracy theory out there to destroy a thing. But I do think there are a lot of people who make their livings off of outrage. I haven't done this. I've never done this. I'm going to YouTube. In fact, let me pull this up. Brandon talks. This anime is disgusting for a reason. Here we get the maturity of Mushoku Tensei. Oh, and there's the flip side, which is people who make their living off of justifying things for people who want things justified, right? No, it's okay to watch this thing. It's okay to... Shit. I'm gonna find spoilers. So let me go Mushoku Tensei analysis. It's okay to unlike likable characters. Mother's Basement. Mushoku Tensei is art, you Philistines, which is taking a vitriolic stance, right? This is incensing, right? Mother's Basement, his goal is not to create good content. Let's be clear. His goal is to get more views, as are most of these people. And so the more vitriolic he can get, the better. And if he realizes that people are criticizing Mushoku Tensei, he has the choice of which side of that to fall onto. And he's going to choose one extreme or the other on everything. Mother's Basement never chooses a middle path because that's not what gets more views, right? Arguments get views. And arguments get people coming back so they can see the comments, that they can argue about them more. And that gets more money, right? These are the things that you fall into if you run your channel off of advertising. This is the danger. This is part of why I don't do it. If you run your channel off of advertising, your only goal, your only incentive is more views, which is not helpful. Not helpful. Mushoku Tensei is an isekai masterclass from Giga. Look at that. There are plenty of these good things. Mushoku Tensei did nothing wrong. This anime is disgusting for a reason. I'm gonna click on this one. What is this? What do we got here? I'm not even gonna watch it. I don't care. Grab Atlas VPN, right? Gotta show your thing. It's very controversial. It's a show where a scumbag main character everybody seems to hate. A show with fan service everywhere. That doesn't seem to be accurate. A show that can be very morally questionable at times with some really uncomfortable scenes to watch. And yet it wasn't this that surprised me. It was the fact that underneath it all, somehow it's actually really sweet. Oh, okay. So here we go. Here we get, this is the kind of thing that we get, right? And this is clever. This is good, right? This anime is disgusting for a reason. There's a back and forth. Hey, bait you. There's controversy here. But wait, there's something real too. That's a great way to capture all of it, all of the information. So that didn't end up being as useful as I thought. It seems there aren't as many vitriolic posts or videos as I thought. So I guess my point is gone. I don't have one. Rip. Captain Wolf Bane. First off, kind of a dope name. I don't think Rudy actually believes the ring stopped him from assaulting Eris. I think that's just the only way Rudy can justify not assaulting her to himself. Rudy is such a creature of habit and indulgence, infinite pleasures, that I think he truly believes somewhere in his brain that it is a wasted opportunity and a betrayal of his character to not do it, and thus he blames it on the ring actually being magic. That's a really, really insightful thought, Captain. I really like this one. When you first posted this 7 days ago, it kind of blew my mind. I'm gonna read it again. I don't think Rudy believes that the ring actually stopped him from assaulting Eris. I think that's just the only way Rudy can justify not assaulting her to himself. Rudy is such a creature of habit and indulgence that I think he truly believes somewhere in his brain that it is a missed opportunity and a betrayal of his character to not do it. Perfection. Perfection. And we know that it's true because we've heard him express the exact thought in relation to his childhood friend, right? I should have just fucking stuck it in when I had the chance, right? Now, we also, it gets muddled in my brain because Punpun has this too. I'm sorry to keep bringing up Punpun, but Punpun has the same thing. I should have just stuck it in when I had the chance is the same kind of concept. But it is exactly that, right? This fear, if I don't do this thing in my one opportunity right now, I'm going to miss out forever. I remember that feeling as a teenager. I actually do. This is interesting. How many of you are male? I assume that most of my audience for Mushoku Tensei is male. Just because most of my audience is male anyway. Ever since Banana Fish stopped, the decline of female viewers has been happening on my channel. So sorry, I just don't watch enough Haikyuu or like semi hot boy stuff. I don't watch enough stuff. There are still a solid proportion. I think I have a higher proportion of female viewers than most people who are doing what I do, which is awesome, and I love y'all. You bring a different perspective, right? I'm a boy. I'm a dude. I bring a dude perspective, and most of my comment section are dudes, so they bring dude perspectives. I'd love to have more girl perspectives, because, God, I need them. I need them. We need them both. We need them all. And everybody else in between, if you identify as neither male or female, please be in my comment section. We need all of the people. All of them. Even if I think you're completely wrong about what you write, maybe I'll be able to discuss it in good faith. I hope so. I wish to be able to do this. So anyway, I remember this. I remember being like 16 with my first girlfriend and thinking that if we didn't fuck, I was gonna miss out forever. We didn't end up actually having sex. We didn't. We experimented a lot as kids do, but we never ended up fucking. Now, that said, my definition of sex has kind of expanded as I've grown, like to not just include penetrative sex, but it's a definition that I think Brennan Lee Mulligan used at some point, which was like, well, is sex penetration or oral or what? Or is it just when two people feel intimate with each other? It's a feeling more than it is a specific act. And that sort of rocked me, and I was like, whoa, that feels true. That feels true, like an intimate sharing with somebody else. That feels like a more valid and broad and useful scope for me. But I had that feeling when I was young of this desperate thing where there's a race going on. There's like a clock ticking. I think I'm sorry to bring it up this way, but I don't think women feel that when they're younger. Women start to feel it as they approach 30. Culturally. Whether it's physiological or physical or not, culturally, there's pressure to, like, if I don't get something done now and get a ring on my finger and a baby in me, I'm never going to have another chance. Women feel that way sometimes. Some don't. Good for them. I'm not trying to super generalize, but in general, women hit a point where they're like, shit, gotta get this done. But for men, that's like 16. It's like, my whole life is gonna end if I'm still a virgin at 18. That's what our society teaches us, right? Everybody's fucking except you. And so that idea that you're gonna waste an opportunity to use this girl, this person, for your own purposes, to justify yourself, because it's some rite of passage for you as a person or whatever, or in Rudy's case, because he spent a full lifetime just focused on it, right? Just seething about the lack that he has, running that open loop over and over, unable to close it. Yeah, I believe it. I believe that he truly believes that it's a wasted opportunity. But the fact that he's able to waste that opportunity, with or without an externalized justification from the ring or the wand or however we want to look at that scene, the fact that he's able to not indulge himself is pretty fascinating. And it demonstrates growth, because growth doesn't always come in the form of, no, I'm a better person than this. It almost never comes in the form of, I'm a better person than this, I'm too good to be doing this, I'm not going to go do this. It very often comes in the form of a distraction or a justification or something, because that's how we do everything. That's how we do everything. I think any time that I've stopped an addiction in my life, I've had a few that have been pretty serious. The ceasing of the addiction had way less to do with, I'm too good to be addicted to this, and way more to do with finding something else to distract me. Maybe that's a useful insight to have. If there's something that you're doing that you want to stop doing, talking about how much better you'll be if you stop doing it, or thinking about how you're better than doing this, or thinking about how you shouldn't be doing this, none of these things seem to work very well. Going and doing something else works pretty good. It works pretty good. If you're trying to quit cigarettes and you spend a bunch of time thinking about how good you'll be if you quit cigarettes and how much better your life will be if you quit cigarettes, all you're doing is spending a bunch of time thinking about cigarettes. What you should be doing is going and getting hurt. Like, go to the gym, feel pain, do something hard, go for a run. Fucking do something that distracts you. That seems to work. And so there seems to be a layer of cleverness to the way that Rudy is written in that moment that's more than just a simple justification for him not doing a thing that he wants to do. It's interesting. Chernobog, cool profile pic and name, by the way. I don't know what the fuck it means, but cool name. You probably won't notice or care by the time the anime is over, but a weird pattern I've seen with people that have a vitriolic distaste for this show is that they tend to parrot the same spoilers, which are out of context and outdated due to the web novel into light novel rewrite. They don't even bother to interface with it. It's just, oh, I heard somewhere and read on the wiki that it has X, therefore it's bad. Or the group of people that go in for some good old escapism and end up being disappointed because the protagonist is not an immaculate paragon of morality or a perfect mirror of their values. I think this is why anime, or just media in general, has gotten bland as of late. For it to be successful, it has to be completely clean or the complete opposite, otherwise it fails. There's no room for nuance, just copy the formula to make money and move on to the next thing. Yeah, I mean, I could have quite a discussion about formulaicness in media and film and stuff, like Marvel movies, fuck, god damn, why? Or actually, I'll attribute it to something bigger. Hey, Disney, fuck you. Fuck Walt Disney and his company, and everything that it does, and everything that they've put out in the last couple of years, and their massive mega conglomerate monopoly over most of the properties that have any meaning to anyone. Oh, and their constant regurgitation of media with zero input or value to it, just churning stories to make money. Ugh. Blech. It's actually scary. Think of a movie franchise. Are they owned by Disney right now? Probably. They probably are. Star Wars? That's Disney. Marvel? That's Disney. Fuck. All of the big movies. Disney. Scary, scary stuff. Because it means there's one group of people, one committee deciding what everything looks like, and that's not good. Not good juju. But this thing you said They don't even bother to interface with it. It's just, oh, I heard somewhere and read on the wiki that it has X, therefore it's bad. The most common one that I've heard is, and I've heard this one a lot, the most common one that I've heard is, I'm not watching this because I've heard that the character never grows. Because the character starts out bad, I've heard that he's a lolicon, and he never grows out of it. That's the thing. Okay? And that's the reason in a lot of my early discussions in this show, I said, it is not necessarily the case that for a piece of media to be compelling or for a story to be compelling, that a character must always receive their just desserts. A character who does bad things doesn't always get bad results. But that's not allowed anymore. Stories must have karmic virtue now. The bad guy must get bad results. The good guy must get good results. And there's a reason for this. It justifies everything. It justifies a faux meritocracy. The faux meritocracy that we live in. The people who are running their companies, they must be worthy of running those companies. Otherwise, they wouldn't be running them. Because bad people don't get bad results. Bad people don't get good results. You can't become successful by doing bad things. It's a really powerful thought, isn't it? It's a really powerful idea. In fact, it's a governing powerful idea. If that person has 1 million Instagram followers, it must be because they have something legitimate to say. If this video has 10,000 million views, it must be because there's something valuable in this video. This is a human phenomenon, a base human phenomenon. It's like the first follower phenomenon. There's a video of a dude of a whole, like, it's a festival. It's like a landscape, a bunch of people on like a grassy green hill, just doing nothing, hanging out. And one guy gets up and starts dancing like a maniac, like dancing like crazy, just going off, right? And people are sort of like looking over at him like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And then another guy gets up and starts dancing with him. Suddenly, the floodgates are open and people pop up everywhere. All these random strangers because there's been a first follower. It's not one crazy person being crazy. It's the first follower. Okay, that's one concept. In the same, I think it was a TED Talk that I watched that had that in it. Somebody said, here's another social experiment that you can do. Go to a public place. I think they used like Times Square. Go to a public place and go and like just look up at something. Like a point at a building, right? There doesn't have to be anything there. Just go and look up at something. Go into a train station. Just sort of stand there and go, and give it a few minutes. In a few minutes, people will gather around you starting to go and look at that thing. Even though there's nothing there, they don't know what you're looking at, but the human instinct, if someone is looking somewhere, is to look there and see what they're seeing. You'll do it at parties, right? Guy keeps getting distracted this way. You're going to go look. What's he looking at? There might be something interesting over there. Maybe there's a mate over there. Maybe there's food over there. Maybe there's what's up in that direction, right? Same concept happens on the internet. If it's got this many views, it must be right. But if you apply that to people, and you apply that to stories, it justifies a whole bunch of inequality. It really does. It justifies immense amounts of inequality. Because you look at those people who are succeeding and you go, they must deserve it. And you look at yourself who's not succeeding and you go, I must deserve it too. Because you live in a world where all the stories that you read and watch and see are of people going and doing the right thing and getting rewarded for it, and people going and doing the wrong thing and getting destroyed for it. Simple black and white morality might be really destructive. It really might. Scary thought, huh? I think so. I think it's a scary thought. Okay, let me check disk space because we're running on 2 hours now. Holy shit. What the fuck is happening? I didn't plan this. I don't know. I'm sorry. Okay. But that's the one that I heard was Rudy. I heard that Rudy is bad and he never grows. And there's another layer to that, which is already I've watched Rudy grow. So I think you have to be coming at this. I genuinely think you have to not watch it or come at it in bad faith in order to come up with that conclusion. Now, I expect Rudy's going to do 2 steps forward, 1 step back, tons of wrong things in his future. But to not watch a show because the main character doesn't go through a very specific, very predictable arc where he does the right thing and learns from his mistakes and becomes a better person, and something wrong with that. There's something wrong with that. Here's why I think there's something wrong with that. It ain't how the world works. We'd love to believe in karma, but it ain't how the world works. You can go through life being the best fucking person, and you will get doormatted and trod upon and destroyed by people who are less agreeable and more ambitious than you. If you don't know how to weaponize yourself, if you don't know how to be both good and dangerous, you're gonna get destroyed. And so filling people with this idea that doing good things will get good results, very pleasing. It's very pleasing to our moral mind, but I don't think it's correct. Doing good things can get good results. Gotta be very careful. This is an evolution of the way that we tell stories. Because like, ancient stories were not like this. Ancient stories were much more realistic. You know? What's the story of Ariadne? Oh yeah, here we go. Ariadne. This is perfect. So there's the Minotaur. The king of Minos is bringing in Athenian people to kill them as a sacrifice to the Minotaur. His daughter, Ariadne, falls in love with Theseus, the son of the king of a person who has volunteered to go in and kill the Minotaur. Falls in love with him, provides him with a sword and a ball of thread, betraying her father and her country for her lover Theseus. So following true love instead of tradition. You can look at that as a good thing or a bad thing, but what happens next to Ariadne is not fair. Theseus kills the Minotaur, elopes with Ariadne, and he doesn't care about her one bit. He fucking leaves her behind and abandons her. And in some versions, even Perseus mortally wounds her. And that fucking sucks. Let me see other stories of just unfairness in dude who brings fire, right, enlightens all of humanity, is tortured for eternity, right, does the best thing ever, suffers for it eternally. That seems about right. That seems more accurate to me. Anyway, I'm gonna leave that thread for now. Thread, Ariadne. I'm gonna leave that thread for now because I think I've made some of the point. But my point is that, like, I think there is a value to that idea that stories have to follow a certain path, and that anything outside that is an attack or a threat. Something scary about that. Nene-san writes, of course, I love your reactions and analysis, but there's one more thing I absolutely love here, the comment section. No matter what kind of community, the moment you bring up MT, there would be more than a few people who would spoil everything. It's amazing how commenters here can contain themselves. On a side note, I tried to contain myself to not spend, but alas, Patreon, here I come. Yeah, sorry, that's the way it works. I gotta make a living. And that means the early access stuff. I try as much as I can to do as much of this as absolutely ethically as I possibly can. This is the best method that I have for ethically creating content, which is to make it free and then let you get a little bit of it a little bit early if you want to pay for it. And it works. It seems to work. I don't know. It's way better for me and for you than if I were pandering for your views. Because I don't have to care about the view counts on these videos. I don't, not one bit, because I know that it matters absolutely not at all how many people watch those videos. What matters is whether I said something interesting. Because if I said something interesting and I managed to make a connection with you, and I provided value for you, the chances that you'll go, fuck, I need the next one now too, are way higher. And part of that is trying not to fuck with you or cliffhang you or delay with you or be like, you know, split up episodes when I don't have to, right? Or like, well, I watched 2, but I'm only gonna post 1, or build up I can't justify doing any of those things that I see other people doing. I can't do it. It's wrong. So anyway, thank you for subscribing to my Patreon, Nene-san. It is the only way that I survive, and it's magical that it fucking works even a little bit. And I love y'all for it. And I love this comment section too. I really appreciate it, and it reflects to me that I need to be doing this more. Mushoku Tensei is a fantastic opportunity to do it because there is so much controversy and there's so much to talk about. There's controversy about controversy. There's controversy about whether there should even be controversy, and It's great. It's great. It's great because y'all have been holding it down. I mean, really, y'all have been holding it down. I expected hate in these comments, and it hasn't been there, except in the smallest bits. And even then, it's just somebody being kind of a jerk. It's like, all right, I don't care. Fine. I love y'all. I love y'all so fucking much. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm gonna go through this damned entire. We're 2 hours in. I'm gonna go through that entire damned conversation. Draco Slayer, the pads they're writing on look a lot like diptychs, foldable boards with wax you can write on with a stylus, and erase with the flat end of the stylus. Learned all about them in Ascension of the Bookworm. I wish I could watch that show. I really do. Unfortunately, it gets copyright struck, so I can't watch it on the channel. I guess I could watch it on Patreon it only, but again, that's the sort of thing that I don't like doing. Radiois writes, I'm pretty sure Mushoku Tensei started 1 decade ago, not 2 decades. No, you're right, 2012. I was wrong. For some reason, I had 2004 in my brain. Ooh, this one was interesting and spooky. This is a little bit conspiracy theory-ish inside this world, but let's go with it. Camo Doge. All y'all with the creative names, come on. So this is total guesswork, and I might be completely off base, but my headcanon of why Philip told Rudy that if he took a girl to bed to use protection follows. Admittedly, some of this is pretty sick, and I recognize that, but in this world, it seems entirely plausible. Hey, let's shout that out for a second. Admittedly, some of this idea is pretty sick, but if I put myself into this world, it kind of makes sense in a sick, fucked up world. It's like, admittedly, the idea that Rudy's father has raped multiple women over the course of his life and seems to be doing fine is pretty fucking sick, but in this world, it sort of makes sense. Right? Yes, right, exactly, perfect. Anyway, here's the premise. Rudy takes a girl to bed. Rudy does not use protection. Girl leaves. Girl's noble father then ensures that she ends up pregnant very soon after her rendezvous with Rudy, maybe even going so far as to make sure she is made pregnant by a Rudius lookalike. Girl shows up again a few months later pregnant. Now some noble has his hooks in Rudius and can make all sorts of demands, and it doesn't matter if Rudius is able to get a girl pregnant or not. He's the baby daddy, and that's the story that they're sticking with. Oh, that's a scary fucking thing, isn't it? Ain't no genetic testing in this world. I don't know if anybody got a cantrip that's a DNA test? I don't think so. Is there a Maury show? Can we get a You Are Not the Father? I don't think so. This makes a lot of sense that there are political implications to your sex life that have to be very carefully watched. For real. Titan Machine responds, this scenario seems very possible in this setting. I think it's a real threat that nobles have to consider. Having said that, telling a younger relative to use protection whenever you see them get attention from the opposite sex is a common joke or tease that happens a lot. It could be some of column A and some of column B. This also makes sense to me. It's the kind of thing that I've had like uncles who would do this kind of thing and be like, be careful out there, kid. I'm like, I'm fucking 10. What are you talking about? My balls haven't dropped. But yeah, that's, yeah. False Namae, which I think is just false name. Interesting. Rudy should really realize that he's in a fantasy world. I know it didn't happen, but when there's a mysterious entity/thing on the horizon, don't make wishes into the ether that are easily corruptible. Rudius was one mean-spirited djinn away from having women literally fall from the sky, which frankly wouldn't be conducive to their long-term well-being. Yeah, a lot of blood splatters to clean up in town. Oh, Jesus. Very funny. Very, very good comment, False Namae. Love it. Yeah, there are some people who have said that there's more scandal ahead. I'm aware of when those scandals are. They are in episode 8, which is the one that I was supposed to watch today. I don't know if I will. And episode 22. Yeah. No. Yeah. Okay. Great. I look forward to it. Fuck yeah. Let's go. Okay. Yeah. Found it. Great. Okay. So we got 2 comments, and they fully disagree with each other, but they aren't commenting against each other. There's no flame war here. It's just 2 comments. There is a flame war on one of these comments, but the other commenter has not been a part of it. So yay. Let's go with the positive one first, and then we'll go with the negative one. Okay. Okay. I just want to demonstrate something that happens, which is that people have different perspectives on things, and they can kind of both be right. Yeah. It's maybe the antidote. This might on its own be the antidote for a lot of our problems, which is to recognize that people can have differing views on something, and they can both be right. Solodic Sayat writes, I am so with you on the D&D thing. For reference, I talked about some of the stuff that Wizards of the Coast is cutting out of D&D, and how it's interesting. Now, to be clear, this is a controversial topic, and it's a talking point on both right-wing Nazi, neo-Nazi, hard right, alt-right, culture warrior, anti whatever, those people, and controversy on the leftist libtard cuck, snowflake, SJW. Okay, have I got enough buzzwords out for you? Are we good? Can we understand what we're talking about? I hope so. This has become a talking point about D&D. People on one side, the traditionalists, as you might call them, are like, the cultural Marxists are ruining my game. And the people on the other side are like, this game is evil and racist. Okay. That's the thing that's going on. Great. So Exciat writes, I am so with you on the D&D thing. I remember the very first time I played, I actually really struggled to grasp these concepts. Even that gods were a tangible and real existence was strange to me as someone who had become very much atheist in the years prior. However, when it was explained that some creatures were truly evil in the role the gods played in this, I understood that it gave an opportunity to have so much interesting thought. Questions of how to interact with those groups. Can you truly hold their immutable nature against them, or even just contending with evil as a force that exists outside of intent? Oh, the idea that evil is a force that exists outside of intent is a powerful one. It's also a disempowering one, but whatever. Especially when you realize that the setting itself plays with this idea, like with the drow who occasionally can abandon Lolth's will and presence in their society. When I finally got around to reading the books about Drizzt Do'Urden, it really cemented my love for the complexities of the setting. Now even drow have been changed in several ways that I feel really ruins this dynamic of them and that I love. I love the drow too. I think the drow are awesome. For those who don't know, the drow are a matriarchal society of dark elves. Oh wait, they're dark elves who live underground. That's racist, right? Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Okay. Anyway. The Dark Elves. Dark Elves, as Dark Elves, have been a cultural fantasy thing for a long time. The idea that there are, these elves who are like these glorious golden people, and then there's like a fallen race of them, makes sense. It works theologically and is sort of off of a semi-Judeo-Christian basis that all of Fantasyland, which is our generic fantasy world that most of us experience when we think of fantasy, is all based on. It all makes sense. But the drow society is fascinating. They follow a dark spider goddess who is a betrayer who has actively shaped them into what they are. And they live in this horrifying matriarchal society that is genuinely horrifying. And it's great introducing this to men. Oh my god, they're terrified by this concept. It's so scary. The idea that women run this so scary. That's fantastic. That's awesome. And it is a brutally oppressive, like, it's not the way an actual matriarchal society would work. It's like if women ran a patriarchy. That's how it works. It's oppressive, and men are viewed as sex objects and very useless and very rarely given anything like interesting to do. There's a reason that Jarlaxle Bainray, a major character in the campaign that I have been running for a year and a half now, he's drow, and he's a rebel. He's a rebel drow who rebels against his matriarchal society and has gathered together a bunch of men, kind of MGTOW going their own way, if you want to call them that. Not really, but a bunch of men drow who are like, we want to exist in the world and not be held down by this oppressive structure. None of that stuff would work without the concept of the drow as they are, that they are a race that has been shaped by this godlike betrayal, this like choice that a deity made for them. Those kinds of things exist because of these cultural identities that are present in D&D, and I understand that they're decoupling them for reasons, but I don't know about it. It feels like you're losing something. Anyway. As for the episode, so the comment goes on. As for the episode, most importantly, I must inform you that the Roxy figure they make is indeed cast off as well, so its clothes come off great. Okay, and then there's a little bit more stuff. No, actually, I'll read through this too. Also, I really love the discussion Rudy and Eris has. It really demonstrates something important, that especially so when we are even canceling stories or aspects of them that explore horrendous things. The best advice and understandings seem to come from people who are usually full of regret, or at least have experienced a lot of failure and setback in their lives. Oh, yeah. And I think there's something about this, too, that I think is really interesting. I see it a lot in personal trainers on the internet. They are personal trainers who get followed because of how they look, not because of what they teach. And often, they look like they look, to some extent, because for the most part they're on gear, and they're going to lie about it, but also because they're generally genetically top tier, in the top couple of percent. And those people could do backflips and run ultra marathons and whatever, and would in general come out of it looking pretty aesthetic and pretty fucking good. So they do like some half decent programming, and they end up looking like beasts, and they take steroids as well, so they end up looking like utterly inhuman monsters, and everybody looks at them and is like, they must know what's going on, when they are probably the least qualified person to teach you what's really going on, because they've never had to struggle for it. There are people who just build muscle, who just build their bodies come in, people who've been doing sports since they were 12 too. They'll come at you with a totally different idea of how to create and build and gain and whatever, because it's all the things that they do now that fit them now, not what they actually did to get there, nor what will actually get you there. So there's this concept, and it sort of goes alongside that concept of like you go up in the ranks of something past your point of ability, and then you stagnate. So you end up with a bunch of people who don't know what they're actually doing. Kind of fits in with that. But the thing that I was thinking about was also in the concept of dating coaches for men. Most of the dating coaches on the internet for men are handsome fuckers. And I think this is something that the whole black pill incel crowd looks at them and is like, some bullshit. Of course these things work for you. How could you teach me? If you want to find a good dating coach, you find somebody who's successful with women, who looks like shit, who is bald and ugly and fat, who's successful with women, because they know how to date, because they've overcome the things. That's it, right? It's also like, if you want to find a good conversation partner or a thoughtful person in a partner, don't seek out an attractive partner, because the attractive people, this is a generalization, they've been able to get away with their looks. The girls and the guys who don't look great, who are still pulling, who are still being successful, they know something. They've got technique. They've got skill. So this idea, the best advice and understanding seem to come from people who are usually full of regret or have at least experienced a lot of failure and setback in their lives. I will rephrase. The best advice comes from the ones who've had to struggle. Makes sense, right? And it fits a corollary that I have that I think is true. The best people are the ones who've had to struggle. Don't spoil your kids. Right? Now, maybe that seems like a jump off, but right? If your kids never struggle, they'll never learn. If they're gifted everything, they'll learn that that's the way the world is. I feel so bad for beautiful people. Now, saying that, I have no idea how I look. Some people find me attractive, some don't. I don't know. But I feel bad for really beautiful women. I've started to feel really bad for them, because they're never going to learn. Not until they hit a wall and their beauty starts to fade. Then they're going to learn real quick that reality is harsh when people aren't just falling over themselves for you. Beautiful men too, they exist. Less important because of the way that women date and the way that men date and all that jazz. But poor fucking things, they're never going to get to struggle. Poor fucking things. Wow. Who better to heed words of wisdom from than someone who has experienced the lows and come back from them? We need people and characters like this, especially when well-spoken or well-written. They convey a stronger message than any character who doesn't know of such things, at least to me. Yep. And there's another layer to this that's way important too, which is that social media incentivizes you to hide your flaws, to avoid talking about them, to not bring them up, to blah, blah, blah. And if you don't talk about your flaws or your failures, then you can't share the insights that you've learned about them. You can tell people like, the way I live my life is like this, and this is what makes me happy. But if you don't give them that backstory, again, you'll read 20 self-help books and they won't stick. One good story will change your life forever. Will change your brain forever. If you tell people what to do, they won't do it. You tell people how bad you had it and how doing this thing helped you, they'll go, I have it bad too. And it'll sort of incept its way into their brain a little bit. But people don't do that. People show their good side only. People don't post their failures in the gym. Again, generalization. So here's a recommendation to you. Go through all the people who you follow on all your platforms and delete all, remove, unfriend, block, whatever, all the ones who only post positive stuff. The ones who you if you look at them and you go, in the last couple of months, have they admitted a failing or talked about something that they found useful because they were struggling with something, or admitted that they were wrong about something that they mentioned in a previous video? I got one of those that I'm supposed to do today. So Gundam last week, holy shit, a romantic thing happened between two characters, and I went, where did that come from? We had 3 episodes of like romantic interactions between these characters. Granted, weird interactions that I didn't know how to read, but they were there, and they just totally slipped my mind. I was like, what the fuck is going on? What? These characters are acting so weird. And people in the comments are like, dude, are you okay? You literally talked about this a week ago. I'm like, oh fuck. And as soon as I saw those comments, I was like, ah shit. Yeah, I fully remember what I was talking about. I just brain farted. I was an idiot. I'm an idiot. It's fine. But go through, and I guess what I'm doing is justifying for myself. I'm like, hey, don't delete me because I do this thing, please. But seriously, go through and delete all the people who only post positive stuff. I know that positivity feels like a warm blanket. It feels so good to think that somebody's having just a perfect life. They're lying. They're lying. And if they are in a great positive place, they're not telling you how they got there. Not actually. Oh, and ignore any of the things that they sell you, because those aren't how they got there either. Ignore them. I don't care what it is, whether it's Squarespace or True Brain or Better Mind or Element or Athletic Greens or what else do people sponsor nowadays? Fucking any of it. My Protein or whatever it is, don't buy those. Don't buy those. Or do if you like the product, that's fine, but it's not what got them where they are. It's what's keeping them where they are because it's paying the fucking bills. And so they've got a great incentive to tell you that it's why they are the way that they are. Oh yeah, Athletic Greens, that's the reason that I feel good every day and I'm making all this, and maybe it works, I don't know. But they're incentivized to sell you the thing, so anyway. We need people and characters like this, especially when well-spoken or well-written. They convey a stronger message than any character who doesn't know of such things, at least to me. Brutally good. Okay, so the outset was that there's this one comment about being with me on the D&D thing and the drow and all that stuff. And then I move over to this other comment by Ramuki. Heavily disagree with your take about evil races in D&D. I much prefer an approach like in MGS, where, is that Metal Gear Solid? I actually don't know. Where we have a lot more morally gray characters. Evil races worked for Tolkien because of the era it was released in. World War II had clearly defined goods and evils, but nowadays these clear-cut categories feel rather outdated and overdone to me. Same with pure evil characters, actually. Not to say that pure evil characters / races can never work, I simply prefer a more nuanced take on morality. Okay. So, I kind of agree and I kind of disagree. And, first off, the alignment chart in D&D is weird and whack. I am not going to be able to express this as well as Matt Colville. I'm gonna give you a rec for a video. Alignment. It's a 35-minute video. It's called Alignment, Running the Game. Matthew Colville. Let me screenshot it. Boom. Talks about alignment. It talks about it in a context of what it means, what it is, why it's valuable, why it's not valuable, why we never use it really, and why it's still important in some ways based on the fucking cosmology present in D&D. Now, if we're moving away from the cosmology present in D&D, which we seem to be doing, they're moving towards Spelljammer and Crystal Spheres and universality and multiverses and all that jazz, great, fine, whatever. Then it becomes less relevant to have this law chaos order evil good sort of quadcotomy. But there's a problem. And the problem is demons, devils, and angels. There are beings in the world of Dungeons and Dragons that are manifest evil and good. And those beings shape the world. And there are gods, and they are manifestations of evil and good. And they have worshippers who follow them, and thus follow those precepts. And they shape races and peoples, and genetically engineer peoples to follow them. So you kind of have to throw all of that away. I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but I do think a lot of the interest and intrigue in D&D comes from the concepts of pure evil. And when we're doing Dungeons and Dragons-y storytelling, it's way more useful to have pure evil and not. And you can write in the gray areas as much as you want. But I think, actually, despite my maybe defensiveness toward this or whatever, I think you're both right. I think you are. I think there is value to be had in having purely evil races and cultural identities in D&D, which is the other thing that's going away. There are no cultural identities. Not for races. Not at all. Not one bit. It's being washed away. And I think that's just false. It's not the way our real world works. It's not the way the fantasy world should work. But I think there's value to having those like pure evil, pure good races, things like that. To having something where it's like, oh, if you're an orc, you are predisposed to violence because you're culturally tribal, violent people who live in mountains and fight stuff and like killing humies. It's orcs. It's you orcs. There's value to that. I think there's also value to saying, but not all orcs. And that's where we were a year ago, right? And you see it in the books, in all of the adventures as well. Like, Waterdeep is a multicultural extravaganza of people from all places, from all walks of life, who do all sorts of interesting things. There's a Dragonborn who runs a wizard shop, and there's a half orc who's in love with a like trans elf druid, and he's like a rooftop sniper, and he's like a Bruce Willis character almost. He's like a Ziraj the Hunter. He's like a movie character, and it's like not all orcs, right? Not all people like this. Not all drow. You've got Jarlaxle and his whole squad of drow who are actively rebelling against the oppressive structures of their own story. Like, we understand this. Not all. But they're informed by the context that they're in or rebelling against. And that seems to be right? Like, that's correct. It's... So, I live in a town that's pretty heavily Mormon and Baptist. If you are a white person in this town, there's a pretty good chance that you grew up going to Baptist or Mormon churches. That's just true in this place. It seems like there's something lost when we take away some of that cultural layer of identity. I don't know. But I also think when you say, I prefer a more nuanced take on morality, I prefer a world with more morally gray characters, evil races are sort of an outdated idea, pure evil isn't really a thing that exists, these things all seem true to me too. Again, people are people are people are people. They come up with their own reasons for doing things, and those reasons might not be evil. The best BBEGs, the best big bad evil guys, aren't evil. They're heroes who've gone down a cruel path, or who are willing to justify any means via their ends, right? You know, I have to save the world from the dark evil lord, therefore I will become the dark evil lord over the world so that the real dark evil lord doesn't kill us all, right? They're shaped by that and by choices and stuff. And so having that nuance is crucial. And so I think you're both fucking right, and I don't know what to do about it. Except the answer that Dungeons & Dragons and Wizards of the Coast has always given out, and is stopping giving out, which is, it's your table, do what you want. That rule seems to be going out the window a little bit. It's not your table. None of this is this way anymore. It is this way now. We prescribe, this is the way things are. That seems dangerous to me. But I think you're both right, and I think that's fascinating. Now, again, you guys didn't discuss this with each other. If you did, it could have been turned flamey and horrifying. I don't know. But I think it's really interesting. In a separate thing that's not really about this, we get two specifically exactly opposite takes, and I think both of them are relatively well justified and probably true. How crazy! How crazy. If only more people were capable of holding that contradiction inside their brains. Because I think, this is a theory that I had a couple of years ago, I think contradictions are the core of almost everything. That we are, contradictions are the spice of everything, and we are contradictions. We are creatures who are alive, and yet we die. We are creatures who are absolutely alone, and yet we crave companionship. How? How is that possible? In the same way that D&D could be better with pure evil as a concept, and better without it, depending on your perspective. It's really quite cool. Really quite cool. Oh, wow. So I asked somebody to write out what happened with the Chinese thing. So here we go. Will Hart writes, I think one reason why last episode caused wave/talk 2 was because it was in the news. It got suspended from some huge Chinese video sharing platform, Bilibili, due to that one scene. And Psawar Mobius, who continues to be a recognizable name in my comment section, hi Psawar, actually, it wasn't for anything related to any of those scenes. Fascinating. This is interesting. Because you can see this happening on the other side of the pond. If it wasn't from it, I'll read through the whole thing. No, I gotta say it now. It wasn't for anything related to those scenes. If this is true, how many Twitter posters posted Mushoku Tensei banned from Bilibili because of lolicon content or something like that? How many posts do you think there were on that thread that were wrong or lying? Probably a lot. Anyway. It wasn't for anything related to any of those scenes. It was because an influencer made some controversial comments over the series without even watching it. It was only the title that did it. Quote, how could a show featuring a jobless guy be anything good? Quote, it will make people stop working, unquote. China's worst fear is their workforce realizing they're being exploited. That was what made enough waves that Bilibili removed the first 4 episodes of Mushoku Tensei. Episode 5 was not even aired anywhere at the time. First off, fascinating. That the cultural evil is in China is the fact that he is jobless and is now demonstrated as having power. Interesting. It's almost like they really want more workers to keep working. Yeah, that makes sense. But my immediate thought is how many Twitter posts were there going, China is winning! China number 1 because they removed this horrible thing and taking it out of context. I don't know. Oh, this is an interesting one. So Nikki T writes, listening to T's intro, I want to say that one of the major reasons why MT lost multiple polls before this is that there were shows that more people wanted to watch on them. One shouldn't forget the context of a steadily narrowing field. I found it a bit strange how T has focused so much on MT when it is only one discourse of many surrounding a multitude of shows. From my perspective on anime discussions around the internet, I just don't see the sheer vitriol/praise/size of discussion that T references. Okay, I'm not even going to answer this in my own words because it's answered perfectly in the comments after it, and I'll jump off of it after that. Koyo Ali writes, there were certainly more people that actively wanted the show to not get picked than there were those who simply wanted to watch other things. This is true, especially going by the voting trends. You're not seeing about as much discussion about MT is also representative of your own exposure to discourse about it. It doesn't really mean that there wasn't actually any vitriol about MT just because you haven't seen it in your own circle. You gotta recognize your filter bubbles. We all exist in echo chambers, and you need to actively fight against that and seek out more information. The fact that you haven't seen discussion around MT might mean that you've been staying away from horrifying anime discourse, and that's probably a good thing for your mental state. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. You have to remember that what you see of the world is not what the world is. You are fed a very slim feed by algorithms, mostly, by YouTube, by Instagram, by Facebook, by whatever you use, and it is nearly impossible for you to get out of that feed. It's really, really hard to find information outside of your circle. So the fact that you haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, because I've been seeing it, man. I've been seeing it. Very first question writes, go check previous poll graphs. Yep, I would recommend doing this as well. MT was almost always the most divisive anime in those polls. It was always the most divisive anime in those polls. People mostly voting either 5 out of 5 or 1 out of 5, which is hell no or hell yeah, with not much votes in between. Yeah, Mushoku Tensei always had the rocker look, right? Where the far right bar and the far left bar are the highest bars and everything in the middle is meh. Whereas the general theme that I get is the middle finger, where most people don't give a shit about a show and some people care about it a little bit and some people don't care about it a little bit and don't want to watch it a little bit, but mostly people don't care. We get the middle finger graph, the bell curve, or we get the rocker. The rocker means there's controversy there. Rock out. No, but seriously, if most people are voting either the hell yes or the hell no, there's something going on. And it was that way on every single time I put MT on a poll, including the last time when it actually won that poll. Still lots of vitriol, lots of back and forth. And lots of people saying, oh, well, I hope it's not MT. Oh, well, if it's MT, I'm not watching this channel anymore. Gosh, I hope Tiabu doesn't watch this Mushoku thing. I've heard bad things about it. And all of the things that I've expressed that I've heard from people, most of them were in my Discord. Most of them were people talking directly to me, essentially, or to other people in a place where they knew that I could see it, talking about why they choose not to watch this show, or why they dislike it, or why they're voting against it. Or I have a space in my polls for comments. Let me actually pull that up. Hold on. Here's something. Honestly, all of these winners, since you're the only reactor I'll willingly try MT with, maybe. Right? These are to be clear, these are comments that people posted along with their votes. I see them. I don't see. I can click through individually and see where they voted or whatever, but I don't normally do that. I just see a list of comments. You're the only reactor I'll willingly try MT with, maybe. Okay. Mushoku Tensei is a decent isekai, even though I gave it a hell no. Minus the flares of great animation, none of these three really offer anything worthwhile in IMO, especially not Mushoku, which is honestly just a better-than-average isekai that people massively overpraise for things that are standard in other genres. Huh, here's a good one. I have a sneaking suspicion that T chooses might just be Mushoku, purely to see what's so polarizing about it, but we shall see. Yeah, you were right. Absolutely not Mushoku Tensei. Please, not the sexual harassment isekai. Interesting. Now, I'm skipping over all the ones where people are like, Mushoku Tensei is my anime of the year. Please, either 86 or Mushoku Tensei would be interesting. JJK and Mushoku were fine shows. Mushoku has marvelous production, but blah, blah, blah. It might be more up your alley. There's no way in hell Mushoku wins, but I'll latch on to hope till the last moment. You won't like Mushoku Tensei. You were wrong. T likes Monogatari despite its iffy bits, so maybe he'll like Mushoku Tensei despite its iffy bits. Absolutely 100% not Mushoku Tensei. Basically anything other than that. I just can't finish Mushoku Tensei. There is some great stuff there, but some incredibly annoying stuff as well that keeps me from enjoying it for more than 2 episodes straight. That's a fair one, for sure. Those are just a few. We go back to the first poll that I had Mushoku on, I think. This is Whittle Wednesday poll. It's a full rocker. Bunch of yeah, a bunch of no. Everything else on the poll is a middle finger. Okay? Oh, except Osama ranking, which is like just a slant toward hell yeah, which is why Osama won this poll. Oh, here's another positive one. I'll add it in. Mushoku Tensei was unforgettable for me. Made me a better person. Also, thank you for everything you've done. Your channel has really brightened up a lot of my days. Oh, thank you. Love it. I really only have problems with Mushoku Tensei here. It's really good, but it also makes me really uncomfortable in a very bad way. The rest of the anime in the poll are really good, IMO. Fair enough. Well put. And fully understood. Not an unreasonable take, right? None of the vitriol there. Thank you. You really won't like Mushoku Tensei. Again, you're wrong. I despise Mushoku. More so than the vast majority of people here. I also don't love 86, but it's fine, blah, blah, blah. Why am I bringing all of this up? I have to take a step back. The reason is because what very first question says about MT being the most divisive anime in these polls is absolutely backed up by the data. And by the comments. People, almost nobody was saying, I don't know much about Mushoku Tensei, I just put a meh there. Almost nobody put that in their comments. People put either, I fucking love Mushoku Tensei, it's my favorite show, it's the best isekai that's come out in years, blah, 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 blah. Or, you're gonna hate that show. Mushoku Tensei, absolutely not Mushoku Tensei. Anything but Mushoku Tensei. I hate that one. I'm not gonna watch it. I refuse. Or a little bit less vitriolic, you might say. You're the only reactor who I might trust. That. I mean, first off, what a compliment. What praise. Extremely high praise. But that's why I had to do it, right? This goes back to our conversation about Binkeldurk's comment in the last episode. That's why I had to do it. It's because there are people who are like, this guy might be able to do something with this show. I think I am. I think I can. I think it's going okay. Knock on wood, right? Charlie responds last. When you look at the graphs of previous polls, a lot of the shows that lost out repeatedly had a lot of meh votes, meaning people just didn't really care too much about the show. But when you look at MTs, there were a shit ton of hell yeahs and a shit ton of hell nahs. So the reason other shows won isn't that more people wanted them, it's that more people didn't want MT. Literally go look at the hypebeast results. Mushoku Tensei had 163 hell yeahs, 9 more than the winning show, 86. It just also had double the hell nahs. Exactly. Mushoku always had up there with the highest positives, but way more negatives. Fascinating. Happy Otome writes, nothing, we're moving on. Okay, we're moving on. Happy Otome writes, nothing to do with the anime, but I was curious. The people who comment before the episodes are published are from Patreon? Yes, that is correct. I post the episodes 1 week early to Patreon when I'm on schedule. And that's why we get those comments there. If you want to comment earlier, that's the way to do it. And unfortunately, because of the way that I've scheduled things, I don't end up being able to look at the YouTube comments until like a week later, and so I have to go back 2 episodes, and it ends up being complicated. I wish I had a better way to deal with that. The best way that I have to deal with that is actually just to delay the episodes by a day, which is what I've done today. I'm recording on Thursday, but then my whole schedule is fucked, and I don't know what to do about that. So, yeah. Yep. Oh, and there was some criticism of the dance sequence reminding me of Symphogear and not reminding me of the Beauty and the Beast Disney original animated scene, which it's clearly influenced from. However, the scene was animated by an ex-Symphogear animator, so fuck you, I was right. No, and also, Rafael Sobchik writes, didn't know Beauty and the Beast had rotating CGI shots like this. Yeah, that one too. Yeah, sorry, Aohige, I think no. I'm gonna go with a no on this one. I think it's closer to the Symphogear shot than it is to the Beauty and the Beast shot, even if it is referencing the Beauty and the Beast shot. Seems like a stretch. Actually, both of them seem like a stretch. It's probably not a reference to anything. They probably just wanted to do a scene and weren't trying to reference anything at all. How about that? That's where I'm gonna go with this one. And maybe we're both right. No. I think you're wrong on this one. You're fucking wrong, and I hate you for it. Arr. I kid. I'm just skimming through the comments on the last episode because I just realized, like, oh yeah, a lot of comments fall through the cracks. Sadavari, I think it's fine to dislike or even hate this show, but don't demand censorship for everyone. I wish we were able to live and let live more. For sure, man. Me too. But it really feels like people are compelled to fight. Like there's a moral compulsion. I must go and attack something because it's outside of my whatever. I don't know. I wish we were able to live and let live more. This is a perfect comment to leave off on. It's a perfect comment. Ngak. I don't know. It's a little weird Kirby as a profile picture. That's awesome. Honestly, the thing that made me more uncomfortable watching this episode, this is on episode 6, more uncomfortable watching this episode when it aired, wasn't the content of the episode. It was thinking on what the anime internet sphere would be saying about it. Manufactured anger. It's not the thing itself, is it? It's not the thing itself. The reflection or the projection or something else going on here. There's something else going on here. Okay. So, 2.5 hours later. Oh, yeah. All right. I have done the comments for Mushoku Tensei episode 7. What the fuck am I doing? Why did this take 2 hours? 2.5 hours. Oh my god, what am I doing? I'm out of disk space. I'm fully out of disk space. Yeah. Okay. I've got a couple minutes of recording time left. And if I try to record anything else today, I'm gonna have to delete a bunch of stuff. Fuck. Okay. I've got a way that I can deal with this for sure. Yeah, I can move some stuff around from one drive to another and make some space. I'm gonna go eat some food while I transfer files, like gigantic files, from one drive to another, so that I still have the files, but they're elsewhere, and then I can record with more space. So I'm gonna go do that. I'm gonna go eat some food, relax a little bit, chill the fuck out, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna watch this motherfucking episode of Mushoku Tensei and invite another round of discussion. Thank you so much for watching this comment section. I'm gonna upload this as a separate video so that it doesn't bog down the other video, and you can just get the comment section because this is insane. And we'll see how it does. I don't know. Maybe this will do well. Maybe it'll do horribly. We'll see. Thanks for watching. See ya for the actual episode in a couple hours or whatever. Peace.